Hello, welcome to Math with Mr. Dobrescu, to the rescue. Today we are going to evaluate algebraic expressions using fractional values. How many of you think fractions are challenging and you'd rather not work with any problems involving fractions? I'm one of them. I usually don't like to work with problems involving fractions. However, I want to make it today in the most easier way for you to understand. I'm going to explain this, how to use fractions to evaluate expressions and get an answer without you having to worry about working with fractions. Okay? Please remember, anytime we evaluate expressions, we are going to, step number one would be to circle those values. M equals 4 over 5 and P equals 1 over 6. And now we are going to substitute those values into those variables in the expression and get rid of those variables. So for example, we are going to draw an arrow to the M, and we are going to draw another arrow to the P, and we are going to substitute P with 1 over 6. So now we have 1 over 6 minus 6 times, remember this means times, and instead of M, we have 4 over 5. Now we have an expression without the variables. And now we have a subtraction and multiplication. And the question is, which one we have to do first? Subtraction or multiplication? And of course, we are going to use PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Let's write the acronym here by the side. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. You see, I put MD next to each other, multiplication and division, and addition and subtraction next to each other, because anytime we have multiplication or division by itself or addition and subtraction by itself, we are going to go from left to right. From left to right. This is the rule. And of course, first, parentheses. We don't have any parentheses. We don't have any exponents. And of course, we have multiplication, right? So multiplication comes first before subtraction. So we have to multiply those two numbers first. And the question is, can we do something to the 5 and the 6? Does 5 and 6 simplify? And they do not. Therefore, we are going to multiply across. Let's multiply those two numbers across. So here we have 1 over 6, and then we multiply across. Negative 6 times 4 becomes negative 24 over 5. 5 is the only number on the bottom. And now let's see what we get. So now we have 1 over 6 minus 24 over 5. And another thing now, working with fractions, sometimes we have to find the least common multiple or common denominator. We have to do that in order for us to solve this fraction. 1 over 6 minus 24 over 5. We have to find the common denominator. So we have the 6 here and the 5. The easiest way would be to just multiply those two numbers. Multiply 6 and 5. 6 and 5 is what? 30. So 30 is the number that both 6 and 5 goes into perfectly. The smaller number that 5 and 6 goes into perfectly. So this is 30. 30 is the common denominator. Once we find the common denominator, we go back into the first fraction and we look at the 6. And now we just have the 6. So now, but we need 30. 6 times what would give us 30? And of course, it's 5. Whatever we multiply on the bottom, we have to multiply on the top. And now let's look at 5. 5 times what gives you 30? 5 times 6. Okay, so they switch. You see that? 5 times 6, whatever we do on the bottom, we also do on the top. And now let's solve it. So on the bottom we have 30, 30, 30. We got the common denominator. On the top we have 1 times 5, which is 5, minus 24 times 6. Let's multiply that by the side. 24 times 6. Let's see what we get. 6 times 4, 24. 4 carry the 2. 6 times 2, 12, plus 2, 14. 144. 144. And now we just need to find the answer. Okay, let's see. How can we find the answer now? And we need to simplify the numerator. We have 5 minus 144. Obviously, 5 is positive. And remember, again, when we have a positive number and a negative number, remember that song Mr. Dobrescu came up with? Opposite sign subtract. So let's subtract the numbers. 144 minus 5 becomes 139. And then the song continues. Pick the sign of the larger number. Then will be exact. Okay, so the sign of the larger number is negative. So now we have there negative 139 over 30. And this is our answer. Negative 139 over 30. Okay. If you're able to get this answer, again, Mrs. Dobrescu is going to give you a happy face, an A+. If you're able to get this answer without looking at this process when Mr. Dobrescu explained this problem to you, you could pause this video in the beginning and then you can see if you can try to solve this problem without looking at this problem. Because the purpose of these videos is for you to get enough practice to be proficient in math and be ready for the next level. Okay? Let's take a look at another example here. Let's take a look at this example here. We have x minus, and again another fraction here, y over x. You know, fractions can be a little difficult, but Mr. Dobrescu is making fractions easy for you to understand today. Okay, so step number 1, we have to circle the values of x and y, okay? And then we are going to plug those values into x and y in the expression and solve the expression. Now I have a little issue here because the y is negative 3 and 1 over 5. So our first step would be to change this mixed number into an improper fraction. And if you remember from a previous grade, we have to multiply those two numbers and add the top. And let's see what we get. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 is 16, over 5. 5 stays on the bottom, and don't forget the negative. So that becomes negative 16 over 5. So now we're going to drag this into this y. So y is going to be negative 16 over 5. And of course, x is 1 over 2. And we are going to also plug 1 over 2 for x here. Okay? Please remember this step. This is very important to change the mixed number into an improper fraction. And if you want, again, you can pause this video and see if you can find the answer to this problem. Okay? Take a moment, pause the video, find the answer, and then let's play the video again and let's see if you get the same answer. So again, instead of x here, we are going to substitute 1 over 2. So we have 1 over 2 minus, instead of y, we have a fraction, negative 16 over 5. Negative 16 over 5, and divided by, instead of x, we have 1 over 2. This looks a little bit more complicated. You see here we have negative 16 over 5 divided by 1 over 2. And the question is here what we are going to do next. But if you remember the order of operations, here we have subtraction, and this line here represents division because we are dividing those two fractions. So of course, division comes before subtraction. So let's divide those two numbers here by the side. Let's do the work right here. So we have negative 16 over 5 divided by 1 over 2. We got to solve this. Okay, we are dividing two fractions, and there's a saying someone came up with, keep, remember that? Keep, change, and flip. KCF. If you remember that, we are going to keep the first fraction as negative 16 over 5. We are going to change the division. into a multiplication, and we are going to flip the second fraction, and here now we have 2 over 1. Okay, remember that. Keep, change, flip. Okay? And now let's combine these two together. Obviously, we cannot cross simplify, so we have to multiply across. Negative 16 times 2 becomes negative 32. And 5 times 1 becomes 5. So here we get negative 32 over 5 when we divide those fractions here. So now we get equals 1 over 2, right? 1 over 2. And then minus, but then we have another minus here, negative 32 over 5. So negative 32 over 5. And now let's see what we get. Please remember, anytime we have two negatives next to each other, they become a positive. Remember, we do this. Boom, boom. They become positive. So now we are adding those fractions together. So we have 1 over 2 plus 32 over 5. And again here, we have to find the common denominator. We have 2 and 5. And like I told you before, the easiest way would be sometimes to just multiply those two numbers. 2 times 5 is 10. So we get 10 here on the bottom. And then we have to multiply 2 times what gives you 10? That's a 5. Whatever we do on the bottom, we do on the top. And 5 times what gives you 10? 5 times 2. Whatever we do on the bottom, we do on the top. We got to be fair, right? So here we have 10, 10, 10. We got a 10 for common denominator. On the top now, we have 1 times 5 is 5. And then plus, let's multiply 32 times 2. 32 times 2, let's do it right here. 32 times 2, right? 32 times 2, 2 times 2, 4. 2 times 3, 6, 64. So here we have 5 plus 64 over 10. And if we add 64 plus 5, we get 69. 69 over 10. And this is going to be our final answer. And again, if you're able to get this answer, again, Mr. Dobrescu is going to give you a happy face and an A++. Okay? Please remember, you can follow these steps and we can get to this answer, 69 over 10. Let's take a look at another problem here. And this problem is getting a little bit more complicated. But again, our purpose with this video is to practice evaluating expressions using fractions, right? The more we practice, the better we get at it. Perfect practice makes perfect, right? Perfect practice, okay? So let's do, again, we need to circle these values for P and for Q, and we are going to plug those values into the expression for P. So we have here this P over here, and then right here, and then the Q, we're going to draw the arrow to this Q, and then another arrow to this Q over here. And now we are going to replace all these variables with those values, with these fractions. Okay, so instead of Q, we are going to replace negative 3 over 2. The reason, again, we circle this and draw the arrow is because it's easier for us to go back to negative 3 over 2. So now instead of Q, we can put negative 3 over 2 plus, we have a big fraction here, that's okay. Instead of, we have negative 3 here, minus, instead of P, we are going to put negative 8 over 5. So right here, another parenthesis, negative 8 over 5. Be very careful. We have one negative here and another negative here. Okay? Be very careful as the way you set this up. Okay? And then plus 2. And on the bottom we have Q. Instead of Q, again, negative 3 over 2. Negative 3 over 2. And then plus P. Okay, so plus, and P is negative 8 over 5. Negative 8 over 5. This is a little bit more challenging problem because it involves negatives, right? A negative here, another negative there, and so forth, right? How do you solve this expression now? Again, we have an addition here, don't forget that, and then a big division. So of course division comes before the addition. So let's solve this big complicated division there. But first we are going to solve the numerator and denominator and then divide the numerator by the denominator. Okay? Obviously, two negatives next to each other become a positive. Boom, boom. We are going to rewrite this again. And here we are just going to combine all these two together. So first of all, let's combine negative 3 over 2 and negative 8 over 5. We are going to add them together. So we have 3 over 2, negative 3 over 2, plus negative 8 over 5, negative 8 over 5. Please remember that every time we add negatives, for example, I owe you $5, right? And I owe another person $5. Okay, how much money do I owe you and the other person? Obviously $10. And it's negative because I owe you this money. The same here. Anytime we add negatives, we are going to end up with a negative in the answer. But we are going to add those two values, right? So technically we are going to add 3 over 2 plus 8 over 5, but we are adding negatives because we are going to get negative in the answer after we solve it, right? Okay, so again, once we get the answer, it's going to be a negative. So common denominator, like we did before, 2 times 5 is 10. We have to multiply this by 5. Whatever we do on the bottom, we do on the top. Here we need to multiply 5 by 2. Whatever we do on the bottom, we do on the top. Now let's take it at the top. 5 times 3 is 15. And then plus 8 times 2 is 16. 15 plus 16, right? Again, the answer is going to be negative. It's going to be negative. 15 plus 16, we get 5 plus 6, 11, 1, 1. So the answer is going to be on the top. We have negative 31 over 10. Negative 31 over 10. And that's going to be right here on the bottom. Negative 31 over 10. Keep that there. We're going to plug it in eventually here. So we still have negative 3 over 2 plus, remember here becomes a positive, right? So we're going to add that. But first of all, let's take care of these two. Negative 3 plus 2. And negative 3 plus 2, if we add those two together, negative 3 plus 2, that becomes negative 1. So here we have 3 plus, and on the top, we are going to have negative 1, and then here plus 8 over 5, 8 over 5, and on the bottom, we have negative 31 over 10. And now let's see what we get. This is getting a little bit more complicated, but that's okay. We are going to eventually get the answer. We need to solve this, negative 1 plus 8 over 5. And with your permission, if I could erase this here and solve the top. Actually, I might have some room over here. So let's have negative 1 plus 8 over 5. Okay? Let's solve that. So now here again, we can rewrite negative 1 as negative 1 over 1. So we can get a common denominator. Okay? Now we have a fraction and another fraction. Between 5 and 1, 5 is the common denominator. So we need to multiply this one by 5. Whatever we do on the bottom, we do on the top. Okay? So now, on the top we have 5 times negative 1 becomes negative 5 plus 8. And that becomes negative 5 plus 8. Okay, again, opposite sign subtract. 8 minus 5 is 3. Take the sign of the larger number, so it's positive. Positive 3 over 5. Positive 3 over 5 is the answer there for the top. Here we get positive 3 over 5. So now we have negative 3 over 2. And then plus. And here on the top we have 3 over 5. 3 over 5 divided by negative 31 over 10. Negative 31 over 10. And now let's see what we get. Okay, remember, we have to do this for the bottom, we have to do this for the top, and now we are right here. Okay, I'm going to erase now because we need more room. Let me erase this side. Okay, let me erase this side. And then we are going to do this division because division comes before addition. So we are going to divide 3 over 5 divided by negative 31 over 10. Okay, and we are going to get the answer. Okay, let's see what we get. Okay, so we have 3 over 5, 3 over 5. So we have 3 over 5. 3 over 5 divided by negative 31 over 10. Again, keep, change, flip. So keep the first one. So 3 over 5 stays. Change division into a multiplication. Be very careful. And then flip the second one. So we have negative 10 over 31. Okay, negative 10 over 31. And let's solve this. We can here simplify actually. 10 divided by 5 becomes 2. And then now we can multiply across. 3 times negative 2, because there's negative 2 now, become negative 6 over, and on the bottom we just have 1 times 31 is 31. Negative 6 over 31, and that's going to be all this expression. Okay, so now we have negative 3 over 2, and then it's going to be, that's a plus negative 6 over 31. So plus negative 6 over 31. And now let's see what we get. Again, we're adding two negatives together, and the answer is still going to be negative because, like I said before, we are adding those negatives. We have more negatives, so we're going to have negative in the answer. But we have to get the common denominator. 3, 31, and 2. And again, the simplest way would be to just multiply those numbers together. 31 and 2. Let's multiply 31 and 2. Okay, let's do it right here. 31 times 2, right? 31 times 2, 2 times 1, 2. 2 times 3 is 6. 62, right? 2 times 1, 2. 2 times 3, 6. 62 is the common denominator. And again, it's negative, right? It's going to be negative in the answer. 62 on the bottom. And again, we have to multiply this by what? By 31. Whatever we do on the bottom, we do on the top. And we need to multiply 31 by 2. Whatever we do on the bottom, we do on the top. Okay? And of course, we are going to just add the numbers because we got the negative right here in the answer. So let's now multiply 31 times 3, right? 31 times 3, let's do it here. 31 times 3, right there. 3 times 1, 3. 3 times 3, 9. 93. So we have 93 here. Plus, remember we got a negative already. And 2 times 6, 12. And finally, our final answer is 93 plus 12. 93 plus 12, right? 2 plus 3 is 5. And 9 plus 1 is 10. 105. So negative 105 over 62. It was a little more challenging problem. It took a lot of time for us to be very, very careful as we plug these answers, as we plug those values into those variables, and then we did it step by step, but again, very, very carefully, because we want to be precise as we work through these steps in this problem and get the final answer. Again, so the final answer is negative 105 over 62. And if you got this answer, again, Mr. Dobrescu is going to give you a happy face, and now A plus plus plus. Okay? Because you are becoming a pro in solving these type of problems. Let's take a look at another problem here. Here we have an absolute value of y squared under the absolute value over x. And they're giving us again the values x equals 2 and 1/3 and y equals 2. And again, from the previous examples, we need to change this mixed number into an improper fraction, right? So by multiplying 2 times 3 plus 1 And that becomes 2 times 3, 6 plus 1, 7 over 3. Okay, we got x 7 over 3, so let's plug this 7 over 3 into the x. And y is already a whole number. We are going to plug this 2 into this y right here. And then we are going to solve our expression. So now we have absolute value, still stay there for now. And then instead of y, we are going to plug in 2 squared divided by, instead of x, we put 7 over 3. Okay? And let's see what we get. Please remember that anytime we work with absolute values, any number under the absolute value is always positive. Because an absolute value represents the distance from 0 to that number. Let's say, for example, we have negative 7 under the absolute value. So negative 7 under the absolute value is going to be positive 7. Because negative 7 under the absolute value represents the distance from 0 to negative 7. And there are 7 units. 7 units. The units are always positive, right? The distance is always positive. The same like here, okay? 2 squared means 2 times 2, which is 4. But absolute value of 4 is going to be 4. Absolute value of 4 is going to be 4 because absolute value is always positive. Divided by 7 over 3. 7 over 3. And now we are at this step right here. We have actually 2 lines. But which line is closer to the equal sign? Obviously this line right here. Let me do this in a black color. Okay? Because now we are going to look at this line that's closer to the equal sign, and we are going to consider this line as a division. Because that's what it means. 4 divided by 7 over 3. That's what it means. 4 divided by 7 over 3. And once we solve this, we are going to be able to get the answer. Okay? So let's do that. Okay, so how do you do this? Remember, because we have the 4 as a 4, we can always make 4 as 4 over 1. It doesn't change anything. 4 over 1 is still 4. But it's going to help us out when we do that acronym: keep, change, flip, right? Okay, so we are going to keep the first fraction, 4 over 1, change the division into a multiplication, and flip the second fraction. And that becomes 3 over 7. And now let's see what we get. Since we cannot simplify it, because 4 and 7 don't simplify, we can multiply across. 4 times 3 is 12, and 1 times 7 is 7. And that becomes 12 over 7. Okay? So 4 divided by 7 over 3 actually is equals 12 over 7. And that's our final answer. 12 over 7. And again, if you're able to get this answer, and please write in the comments if you're able to get this answer. And even if you're struggling with any of these steps, you can write in the comments why you are struggling with those steps. And I'm going to do my best to answer your questions. And again, if you were able to get this answer, you're going to get a happy face and an A+++, and another plus, because you guys are doing amazingly well evaluating expressions involving fractions and mixed numbers. Let's do one more example here. And I want you to try to do this example on your own. Please do pause this video, see if you can solve this example without any help, and then see if my answer is going to match your answer. Okay? Okay, let's go back into the problem here. And again, please don't remember, I know by now you are going to circle those values. You are going to circle those values here, right? For x and for y and for z. And we are going to plug this into the original expression and solve that, right? So instead of x, we are going to plug in the 1. Instead of y, we are going to plug in 3 right here. And finally, for z, we are going to plug in 2. And now all these variables are going to be replaced with those numbers. So we have 4 times, remember here is time between 4 and y, they are grouped together by this multiplication sign, right? 4 and y are grouped together 4 times y. So 4 times, instead of y, we have 3. 4 times 3 minus x squared. So x is 1, so it's going to be 1 squared minus z. Z is 2 and over 2. And let's see what we get now. Okay, so we are right here. We have a multiplication and subtraction and then parentheses. Obviously, if we follow the acronym PEMDAS, please excuse my dear and Sally, we have to do this first. We have to do the parentheses and of course the exponents. Okay, so let's do the exponent first. 1 squared is still 1. So here we still have 4 times 3 minus 1 squared is still 1, right? And 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 minus 1. Okay, this problem is going to be very, very easy now. Because everyone should know that 1 minus 1 is 0. And then 4 times 3 is 12. And 12 minus 0 is what? See, 12. Not 0, 12. So the final answer is 12. Okay, that's the answer for this problem. Again, if you're able to get this answer, you will get from Mr. Dobrescu a big happy face. Big, big happy face, right? Happy face. Big happy face and an A plus, 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 and another plus. Because you guys are fantastic. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video with everyone because this is one of the videos middle schoolers find very challenging because it involves fractions. But after you watch this video, you'll be able to be proficient and not be afraid of working with variables and fractions and solving and evaluating expressions involving fractions. Thank you all so much. Please, again, don't forget to like and subscribe and stay tuned for our next video. All the best to you.